All right, so now we're gonna go and do this brow with powder. If you've had trouble with trying to do your brows with pomade, go back and watch part 1 of this video as we did this brow using pomade. Now, the process is pretty much the same when you're using powder. You want to make sure first that your brow hairs are laid down. So I'm going back in with my e.l.f. brow lift to lay these brows down. As mentioned in part 1, it's very important that your brows are groomed before you even start them. If you want a nice, clean, crisp brow, you want to make sure that you trim away any of those flyaway eyebrow hairs. You don't want bushy brows. They won't lay like you want them to. All right. The other thing that I don't know if I mentioned, but when you're using your brow soap, your brow wax, your brow gel, let it set. You want it to be tacky or even dried down before you go in with any product. If it's too wet, it's going to clump up and you're not going to have that natural brow that you're looking for. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to set this brow with brow powder. Not brow powder, setting powder. And we're just going to lightly dust this powder over our brow. And again, if your brow is not set, if it's still wet, this powder is going to clump up. So make sure you let it sit, set, and you want to go in lightly with that setting powder. All right, so the product of choice today is the Morphe brow powder. This powder is in the shade Chocolate Mousse, okay? Now, let me give you a helpful tip. Brow powder, eyeshadow, anything powder you can use on the brow. So if you don't have a brow powder, you don't have to buy one. Get you a good neutral palette that has a good brown in it, and you can use that to create a brow. All right, so we're gonna go in and create a brow today using brow powder. So again, I'm going in with an angled brow brush. I'm gonna get a little bit of that powder, and I'm going to start by creating my brow shape. And as I'm creating that shape, I am following the natural shape of my brow. Now that we have the bottom of our brow lined, I'm going back into the powder, but this time I'm going to fill in the sparse areas of my brow. And I'm doing hair-like strokes. Just like that. All right, so we got our hair-like strokes. Same as with the pomade, you see a natural balance or an even balance between the product and the brow hairs. A good brow has a balance between the product and your brow hairs. You can still see my brow hairs, and you can still see where I use the product. So now we're going to carve out these brows. I'm going to use a lighter shade underneath the brow and more of my complexion shade at the top. Starting in the arch of my brow, we're just going to carve this brow right on out. Going from the front and connecting the two. And I'm just going to sharpen up that line. Let's go ahead and pat out that concealer. Just like so. All right, let's go in and clean up the top of this brow. I'm going to use foundation that is closer to my complexion to clean up the top of this brow. Let's start at the tail first. Ooh wee, that's sharp. Now we're going to start not at the front of the brow, but we're going to start a little further back and connect the two. I have a little point here in the brow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around that right on now, just like so. And then let's get these brows to match. Go ahead and buff out that foundation. Y'all see that? Don't worry. We gonna fix it. Look at that, y'all. Now, how do I fix that? I'm gonna take that same brush and just add that product right on back. It's not gone. It's just underneath. Just put it back. Like that. Buff it out. And there you have it. One brow with pomade, one brow with powder. Now I know y'all see that little line in the front. Just take your brush, soften it right on up. Y'all, it's simple. Let me know in the comments what else you need me to help you with.